You've already seen a lot of examples of us using variables, but before we move on, I just want you to understand identifiers. Don't get intimidated with the terminology. All an identifier is it's a name. It's the name that we give a variable, function, or property. But there's certain rules around identifiers. We can't just name our variables anything we want. We've got to be careful how we structure it and the syntax we use. For example, identifiers have to consist of letters and numbers. We can't use symbols. And think about it. Look at your keyboard numbers now. All of them have operation meaning. You've got the brackets for 9 and 0. You've got the multiplication sign on 8. You've got the and sign for 7, the power sign on 6. So we can't use any of these symbols because when the parser comes across those symbols, it interprets them in a very structured and ordered way. We can, however, use the $ or underscore when naming a variable. That is open to us. The other thing with identifiers is that we can't begin our variable name with a number. So then how do we name our variables and what is the best practice? Well, the convention that I like, and it's probably the most popular, is what's known as camel case. Except for class names and const variables. Although you can, the industry standard is that you structure those a different way. So when you come across a variable in code that's just all capitals, for example, you'll immediately know that that's a const variable. For example, const pi equals 3.142. You wouldn't expect in your code to ever change it. And that's why the identifier would be all caps on a const. In this case, capital P and a capital I. You also need to be aware that variable names are case sensitive. This means that if we define a variable called myVariable all lowercase, and we make that equal to 1, and we do the same thing with another variable, but we use camel case, and we assign that the value 2, these are two distinct variables. They're not equal the same thing. And last but not least, identifiers must not consist of reserved keywords. We know that we've been using reserved keywords all the time in JavaScript. You've seen alert, prompt, console.logs. We can't be using these to define variable names because then the interpreter is not going to know what's going on. Reserved keywords are just words in the JavaScript language that have inbuilt functionality. They've been predefined by the programmers of JavaScript for us. And here are some examples on the screen. These are not exhaustive. There are hundreds of reserved keywords. So just don't use these when defining your own variable. Let's move on.